Hey, I'm Roberto, uncle, dreamer, and Disney kid at heart. As a business profit strategist and community leader, I've had the chance to work with multiple business owners and community leaders ranging from napkin ideas to 8-figure brands. And along the way, there's been some failures, amazing successes, and lots of friendships have been born. Now, community leaders come from all walks of life and business. They might identify as a coach, consultant, speaker, a nonprofit leader, or a maker, but here's the thing. They all have one thing in common. They are purpose-driven brands and leaders seeking to create an even bigger impact in the world with and for their communities. This is the show that brings together community leaders and business leaders with communities to reveal their mistakes and successes to building and creating a highly impactful and profitable community. This is the Connected Community Leader Podcast. Well, hey, y'all, and welcome to another episode of the Connected Community Leader Podcast. I'm Roberto, and I'm here today with my guest, LaTara Venise. Now, LaTara is a soul care provider, and she's the founder of Color Your Soul, where she helps brand souls to soar with lifestyles of soul care. Now, I know you might be asking what that means, but no worries, because we're going to go through that today. Now, as y'all know, I've kind of had a little bit of a personal relationship with just about everybody that we've interviewed so far. And so I want to tell y'all, I met LaTara a few years ago when we were actually running a sponsorship challenge online. It was like 2017, I want to say, 2016, 2017. We were running a 5-day challenge, and who would have thought 5-day challenges would have become so popular? But we did it, and she was there every day and just like in it to win it, and actually won one of the contests. And she just showed up and played full out completely. And it's been amazing over the past 3+ years to be able to watch her get clarity in her own community, clarity in her own journey, and to be able to connect people back to themselves before they can connect back to others. So, LaTara, thank you so much for being here today.
I'm glad to be here, Roberto. Thanks for having me.
Yes, always, because it's fun. We don't get to talk enough.
We don't.
So tell us, what is a soul care provider?
You know, when you think about a soul care provider, of course, you're talking about the soul. And basically, this is what I do. I tell people, I help you to tend to your soul, to tend to those emotional issues you're dealing with and grow up a little bit, become an emotional adult. Because the average one of us, we still act like we're 15. So learning how to really hone in on those emotional issues you have and deal with them and just, again, grow up a little bit and be able to better relate to people and yourself.
I love that. Relate to other people and to yourself. And I think that, sometimes people can't relate with others because they don't know how to have that conversation with themselves or just be, I have a friend, I don't know if you've met her, Dr. Patricia Knoll. She wrote a book called Good With Me. And I think the importance of what your work is so many people don't know how to be good with just who they are because they haven't done that healing work yet.
Right.
And so you've written a couple books, and, they're all around this framework that you've created to help people get back in touch with themselves, to really have that lifestyle that they want. And so will you just, take a few minutes and share with us what some of those things are? I believe that you've got 5 tips and what those 5 core principles are, and then something people can do to be able to implement those in their life starting today.
Okay. All right. These 5 things that I talk about, they're like core to really developing who you are, learning how to love yourself more, and learning how to remain humble in the process, so you don't get, sometimes we can get beside ourselves in who we are. But, I always tell people to make sure that you are sure of who you are. That's not, you have to have an identity. Who are you? Who am I? And you would be amazed at the number of women I work with and I talk to, and even some of the men, my own oldest son, when I ask them, who are you? And they say, I don't know who I am. You don't know who you are? You need to understand who you are. But I've been there because I am the story of Color Your Soul. I tell people that all the time. And so you have to know who you are so that you gain that confidence and that courage and the boldness you need to move forward in what what you're here for, what your purpose is. And when you do that, then you really need to know what you believe in. What are your core values? I tell people faith, family, sanity. Sanity is so key for me because I've been on the other side of that. I know what it's like to be insane, for real, for real. And integrity and abundance, those are the things I believe in. So then I'm able to do the next thing, which is prioritize what matters most. What matters most will be based on those values. If I believe in my family and with my business and what I do, I travel. And so I know that if I'm taking care of my mom, I can't travel 2 to 3 times out of the month. That just makes no sense because it's taking time away. And when I'm gone for anywhere from 3 to 7 days. So just imagine me being gone for 15 to 21 days out of the month. That's 12 to 21 days. That's crazy. So that's not a wise decision. And that's what values and priorities help you to do. Make a wise decision. And then the
Well, let's
needs.
talk about that real quick.
Okay, good.
Let's talk about this real quick. So, in terms of prioritization,
Mm-hmm.
I one of the things that I've seen in entrepreneurs is this belief that they either have to prioritize their business or their family or themselves, but that they can't have all three. And one of the things that I've been able to see you do as you've built your company and as you've taken your community through their journey is to teach people that yes, you can have it all. So will
Yeah.
you share a little bit about kind of how people begin to prioritize, and that sometimes you need to prioritize yourself into order to prioritize those other pieces?
Yes, yes. That actually was a key piece to my own healing is learning how to to love me and put myself in a space of I matter. So, because you could say you love yourself all day, but if you don't matter, then you're not really going to do anything to take care of yourself. And so I had to really learn that if I don't take care of me, I can't prioritize my family and those things that really matter, and even my business. And in doing that, I've really been able to just create this balance of, what, I can spend 2 good hours in my garden because I love the garden. What, on this day. And like one of the things I do, Roberto, and people always laugh at me, I'm like, Friday through Monday, I don't take any clients, I don't take any sessions, because then my family knows, oh, she's free on Friday, so we can go do this. Or my son says, hey mom, can we have a movie date? My 16-year-old loves to date his mama. That's, I guess I should be blessed because most 16-year-olds be like, and so we choose a movie to watch, and they know that on the weekend I'm theirs, and on Monday they know, okay, I have meetings that day. So I've learned to prioritize in such a way where I'm not wearing myself out. My family has me. I'm resting. That's putting me first, because there's this thing where people say, your family should come before you. Well, that's backwards. I need to matter first. Even my business doesn't come before me, and it doesn't come before my family. So that's been that, because that's important to me. And so finding that balance and teaching people how to do that, it's been funny because we compartmentalize ourselves so much, but that makes no sense because we're one person. So when you compartmentalize yourself, it's almost like you have personality disorder. What is it? What's going on with you? We're just one person, but you have to learn how to integrate all of those things. And it takes a balance and some honesty about who you are and how you show up in the world and how you are expected to show up. When you balance, because some of the ways that we're expected to show up, it doesn't even fit with who we are. So you just have to learn how to be true to yourself. And this is who I am. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what matters to me, and stand on those things.
I was over here looking for the button. I had to cough and then I like hit the mute button. And y'all learn by now in this show, it's just like we cough, we sneeze, we do it all. We want y'all to see that this is real life. And sometimes Roberto hits the mute button and forgets to unhit it as well. And so, one of the things that you said that I was kind of part of my own journey as well, is when you said being able to put yourself first, which is
Mm-hmm.
so counterintuitive to what we're taught. you know,
Mhm.
and y'all, I know somebody gonna get all distressed about this, but that's okay. Because in the church,
Mhm.
we're taught you put others first.
Mhm.
And we've also and while I believe that we should serve, I believe that you cannot serve if you're completely busted. Like
Right.
if you're busted and if you're broke and if you are having your own emotional trauma, if you
Mhm.
cannot put yourself through a healing process, you cannot be there to serve others at the highest capacity.
Yes. 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 That's so true. And I'm gonna use this example really quickly, and I don't want nobody to get in a tizzy because I'm gonna talk about Jesus real quick. Just real quick. When you learn about who he was, he took a break. He took breaks all the time. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to go to the mountain. That's just so important for people to see, because you talked about the church and it's like, okay, well, here's your example. He's telling you, go take a break. Go take a minute, take a break, get some rest. He even fussed when they were like, get up, it's a storm. He's like, what are you waking me up for? It's all good. So we have to really pay attention to that, because it's important that we take a break, that we get a minute to ourselves.
I hope y'all heard that, ladies and gentlemen, that it is okay to take a break and find that time for yourself to reconnect, to recharge, whatever else that may look like for you. So we had values, we had prioritize. Go ahead
Mm-hmm.
and round us back up with the rest of these here.
So the next thing is needs. When you know who you are and you have values and you have priorities, there are needs that go along with that, right? So for example, sanity. In order for me to stay in a place of sanity, I need to be clear. And if you're bringing me something, it's like some people, I won't speak at their events, I won't participate because they're not giving me clarity around expectations, what the event is about. It's important. I need to know so that I can make an informed decision. Another huge need for me, and people always laugh, is my wine. I got to have a bottle of wine in the house. It's a need for me. Right. And it's funny because it's not where, I have a drinking issue. It's just that a glass of wine with a good steak or with my popcorn or just to enjoy a movie is something that I like to do. And that's what needs include things you like to do. When I tell my family, I just did a retreat, and every night after the retreat, I would come to my room and close my door because they knew I needed that moment to breathe. And that's a part of my sanity, because if you keep going, it drives you insane. So if I value sanity, then I have to have some needs that balance that out, right? So I mean, because I'm crazy enough in my own head, so I just need to really make sure that I'm maintaining the sanity that I've worked so hard to gain. So those needs are so important, and we have an issue with expressing them. And I'm always teaching when I work with my clients, and even in the group environments I'm in. What do you need? What do you want to see? And when you tell people, what do you want to see? They go, well, I don't know. Well, you got to figure all that out. That's why values and priorities and identity are so key.
Ooh, I love that. Okay, so we're going to play with this one for a second. So we talked about
Okay.
values, identity, prioritizing, and the
Mm-hmm.
needs. Now,
Mm-hmm.
ladies and gentlemen, what I want to invite you to look at is that as LaTara was talking about the different types of needs, they can be broken down into 6 categories that I wrote. Okay.
Wow. Uh-huh.
And so as she talked about the need to be with by herself, the need to have some wine, the need for this, all these great things. And I personally, share the love of a good glass of wine. Is, she mentioned knowing your spiritual needs, your mental needs,
Mm-hmm.
your physical needs. And, she mentioned for her that's, going out for a walk or gardening as well. She mentioned that earlier today. The financial needs, the needs of your financial security for your business, for yourself, your emotional needs. And then
Mm-hmm.
number 6, I'm going to call them your just me needs. Like these are the things that are just for me that play into all of these areas. And so knowing your needs, your spiritual needs, your mental needs, your physical needs, financial needs, emotional needs and your just me needs. And so I
Mhm.
think that's important for entrepreneurs and community leaders to be able to step back. And I want to invite y'all to write down those 6 areas and,
Good.
have that conversation with yourself about, what are my needs in
Mhm.
this area? And y'all, there's a difference between needs and wants, but that's a whole nother conversation for another
Mhm.
day. Okay. So what's next here, LaTara?
And then that fifth part is really making sure that you have some boundaries around your life. Boundaries are so key, y'all. This is so key, and making sure that you have a boundary of. I always tell people your first boundary should always be no, because you want to set boundaries from a place of not hatred but love, and you want to set it with some, and with the right attitude in mind. Sometimes we get mad at somebody and it's like, I'm not talking to you, but that's just bitterness inside of you that just rages. And so I always have a boundary of no before I even set another boundary. And it gives me an opportunity to see clear on the situation, the person, the place, the thing, so that I set a healthy boundary that's beneficial for both parties or all parties, whether they believe it or not, right? Um, I think parents should do it with kids. I have boundaries with my mama. I'm like, look, we got to have some boundaries here. So, just because if you knew my mama, I have to have some boundaries with her. Those are so key to maintaining your identity, maintaining your value, your priorities, your needs. Those are key, is having these boundaries so that you are safe, even when you have these ups and downs in your life, you're able to just hold on to everything that you've gained if you have a set of boundaries in place. So key.
I love that you said starting with that boundary of no.
Mm-hmm.
And, I found that early on in my journey, I don't know about you, it's like people are like, I want to work with you. I was like, yes, yes, yes. And I learned very quickly that not every customer is the right customer, and not every check's a good check.
Well, yeah.
And I didn't know how to say no because, and
Yeah.
here's the thing, it wasn't even a money thing. It was I felt that I was letting them down if I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't work with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe that's key. And, somebody that I love, and I don't know if you love her work, but I love Dr. Brene Brown.
Oh yes.
And
Oh yes.
I'm
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
addicted. Like her
Yes.
books are on my desk. And, one of the quotes that she has, I mean, she's got several quotes about, boundaries, but one of the ones that I love the most is when she says, daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves
Mm-hmm.
even when we risk disappointing others.
Yes.
And when you said start with that boundary of no, that's definitely falls right there within that,
Mm-hmm.
is that, people are not going to be happy when you say no.
Right. Right. They're not. Mm-mm. They're not going to be happy when you say no at all. I just think about my oldest child and how I used to go no to him sometimes, and he would just be like, "I don't understand." Like, well, I'm like, "No, we have to think about it. I'm saying no right now because I don't know how to move forward in this." That's why that boundary is so key.
Yeah. And so, we talked about these 5 things that people can look at as they begin to do this internal work,
Mm-hmm.
to care for themselves, to care for their soul, to care for their spirit. We talked about identity and values and prioritizing and needs and boundaries. And, let's switch gears a little bit
Okay.
and talk about you
Okay.
and talk about this journey, because I think that it's incredibly wonderful to have this work that you do and to create the
Mm-hmm.
certification that you've done and the
Mm-hmm.
programs and the retreats. And so the thing is where you are right now, it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
that way when you first started. And so
Mm-mm.
what's one thing that you wish you knew when you first started to color your soul and started your community?
Hmm. Um, I think I wish I knew that. How can I put this into words? I wish I knew that I mattered enough to show up the way I was supposed to show up in the first place, right? Because the funny thing is, people are hearing you say what I do, but what people don't know is I used to do brand marketing, and and I was a broke coach. I was a broke coach. I could brand you, but like you were saying earlier, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, I can go down on my price a little bit, or you know what, yeah, it might be too much. But then when I began really walking in what I wish I knew, when I began really walking in that, and it shifted to this whole new business model, and I started watching my income grow, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, hold on, this, wait a minute, I done doubled my whoa, oh, it really blew my mind. I just simply said, it's time for me to walk in this. And I kind of oopsed into it through some mentoring I was doing with my mentor. But, and one day, and I hyperventilated when I realized, wait a minute, I'm not doing anything I used to do. And my children can tell you literally, I had a bag at a table. Oh my God, it's totally different. Oh, but the journey has been so phenomenal. Even from when you and I met, I was kind of just starting that journey. And and something happened in 2018, and this experience and this moment I had, and everything shifted. And I was like, oh my God, this is like for real, for real. Like, whoa, I'm making money I have never made before. It's just been phenomenal. So that's what I wish I knew.
Oh, I love that. And, what you said, and, just to sum it up, is when you were able to get into alignment with you,
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
when it all started coming because you weren't trying to be what everybody else wanted you to be. It
Right.
was, this is what's alignment with me. You went back and took your own 5 steps,
I did.
5 step program.
I did. I did. I
So I know
did.
you mentioned a mentor there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm curious, I like to say that all entrepreneurs, community CEOs, people that are in business, y'all, if you get
Mm-hmm.
paid to do something, you're in a form of business, and it may be an expensive hobby, but
Yeah.
the way that you go from expensive hobby to building a profitable community is coaching, is
Yes.
mentorship. And that doesn't mean you need to go join $100,000 program.
Right.
There are a lot of great books out there. And so what would you say are a couple of the either best books or courses or podcasts that have helped you along the way in your journey?
Well, for me, it was actually starting to mentor with who I call just the awesome Shay Bynes, even though she works my nerves sometimes. I know she's listened to this interview, so I'm going to say that. So, but it was working with Shay Bynes and getting into her program that's called Igniters, and then really hearing for me what God was saying to me through the whole process. And um she was the first person at the time I wouldn't mentor with anybody else because I didn't trust people. I was like, I didn't like Shay a whole lot, but I was led that way, and I just honored where I was being led, and it was with her, and then over time, just kind of picking up from other people along the way. I love learning from Tasha Glover. She is a branding shoo, and just learning from her. And I don't have like tons of people I listen to, which is so key for me because then I'm not stretched in 10 million different ways. And believe it or not, my son AJ has been such a source of support and honesty because that boy will be honest with me up and down and tell me about myself, and I think that that was really key for me. And then finally, Dr. Tony Robinson. I'm always, we've been friends before she was even Dr. Tony, but really just just learning how to glean from her as I move in this thing because she's kind of in the same work that I'm in. And then listen, I'm like you, Brene Brown, her books, her video. I'm like, oh my gosh, she is such my in person. If I could just meet her, just have a conversation with her, because I think she's so legit in the work that she does, and she has an integrity that a lot of people in the field of inner healing, I call it, they don't necessarily have. And so I really enjoy Brene Brown. She is like, I have all her books too, Roberto. I think I'm missing one, but I have every one of them. So those are the people, that I listen to. And, I don't really listen to a lot of podcasts. Mike Davis. Oh my gosh, he's been another one. Mike Davis. I took his emotional coaching certification, and that was so phenomenal for me. And just gleaning and learning from both he and his wife. it's been amazing for me. And I met him through your community. So that those are the people that I heed and listen to. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as you hear, there are different fields, there's different people.
Hmm.
And so, and I hope that, through different episodes, now this is your first episode, welcome. If you've listened to other episodes, welcome back. But, this is actually one of my favorite questions of the podcast is hearing where people learn from, where they glean inspiration and their business tips, and realizing that sometimes to build that business, it is that inner work first. And so,
Hmm.
as we move to a close here today, I guess, one final question. What one piece of advice would you give a community leader that's saying, like, LaTara, I've been doing this. I feel beat up. I feel beat down, but I know that I can have a profitable community. I know that I can have community growth. I know that I can have profits, but they're feeling kind of defeated. What one piece of advice would you give them?
One Piece. I about four or five rolled through my head, but let
Well,
me
we can go
pull.
through them.
I mean, if I were to say, just give you a list, I would ask a question first is, am I being true to myself? Because if you're not being true to yourself, people read that. People
Mm,
can read that well. Am I being true to
yes.
myself? Which means, am I also being authentic? Because a lot of times we try to build communities based on how we see somebody else build a community. And that doesn't work for everybody, right? Because we're all unique and we each have this certain little thing inside of us that will, make people go, oh, yes. Like, I'm really real. If you know me, I'm real. I lay it out. This is what it is. Don't have a conversation with me if you don't want me to tell you about you, because that's me. And but that's what attracts a lot of people to my brand, is that they love that and they're like, how did you get there? Well, let me show you how, right? And then, do you really know the people you say you serve? I mean, I learned a long time ago through some classes I took that you have to meet people where they are. And and I right before this conversation, we were talking, and one of the things that we talked about is the fact that sometimes people create solutions and don't really even understand the problem. So that's key. You're creating solutions and you don't even really know what the problem is. You may have a solution, but how does it apply to those you're serving? That's key. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
Awesome. And then I know I said final one, but I was wrong. I was wrong. Where can people find you? Where can they hang out with you online and learn more about you, your books, and the work that you do?
Always on Facebook. That's like my hangout, y'all. Facebook. We have a page, Color Your Soul. So check that page out. And my website is growing slowly but surely, LaTaraVenice.com.
GrowingLataraVenice.com. Not growing surely but slowly, LataraVenice.com. So
Yes.
growingLataraVenice.com. So LaTara, thanks so much for being with us today. Y'all, thanks so much for joining. Be sure to subscribe. And if you know anybody else that could benefit from this information, be sure to pass it along. And if you know anybody that, maybe you just want to like say, hey, send them a few minutes of their day to listen to something, also send them as well. So hope y'all have a great day. Thanks for joining LaTara and me today. And we'll chat with y'all soon. Bye-bye.